Hello, welcome to a quick video for RPCS or RMX and DMA licensing. So today we are going to run through activation of RPCS in both virtual as well as RMX hardware piece for licensing, and then we'll look at DMA licensing as well. Um, this will be a high level, the very beginning stages of just getting a product activated. Okay. Okay, so first off, the RPCS is the virtual platform. I know that we've talked about this with Barbara in reference to the name itself, but we were told to call all of them RPCS. But for the sake of us, the documentation team, let's go ahead and say RPCS is the virtual and RMX is the platform. So um, the we are selling Clarity licenses that are for hardware MCUs, and they do state in the description Clarity, but they have nothing to do with the new license model. The hardware products themselves are still the legacy CFS method. So with that being said, they will receive a CFS key where they need to add it to their serial number on our support portal here. So um, with that being said, let's take a look at one that's already activated. So here is my RMX 1800. So we will pull up the serial number here. Oops. And that would be here. So on the support portal, we want to actually log in. We can do it here, license, activation, and upgrade. All other Polycom products because it's the legacy. And here's where I'm prompted to log in. Excuse me. We're going to activate now, put in our said serial number, hit next, accept the license agreement. And this would be the vicinity that in the event the key code was blank, there is nothing here, the customer would need to add said new licenses that they get off of on an order. Here you can see that we've already activated this a while back, and we can look at activation history to see what exactly was activated it against here. So as I mentioned, there's new licenses that come out, and they actually have in the description, it says they're Clarity. Um, they're the same thing, right? So they don't give you anything different thus far. We will talk about maybe in our meeting coming up the 8.8 build on how the bit mask will change, where it's going to prevent something, but we'll talk about that for futures. The upgrade tab, this is the tab that we'd want to visit when we want to pull down a said keyed code for a specific version. This version up here that you see, this is not the one that's going to activate the product, because as you see, that the license that activated to generate that was an older 8.5 key code. So that's why we have that key code displayed on the main page. Activation history, the last one in was an 8.5, so therefore the 8.5 key code will display on the page. If they got a new said 8.7 license, this code would probably be seen up on the page. The FEs sometimes miss this, sometimes miss going to the upgrade tab. It causes problems when customers try to use this key and they find out it doesn't work, and then they call the help desk wondering why. Well, they simply just need to click the upgrade tab and get their upgrade key code. In the event that there'll be a statement here saying available but not entitled, well, that simply means that the service agreement is not covering the said serial number. So In the event that customer, like an FE, is actually out on site to install a brand new product, and it was something that was scoped last year, and the 90-day warranty has came and gone, right? By the time the FE gets on site to install it, and he tries to get the key code, a lot of times they have to call the help desk because it'll say available but not entitled, and we would help. CFS help group would help them get a key code for them to get things installed. Not to derail here, but this is where they would go to get their 8.7 said key code to activate onto their product. So this is the CFS method. RMX, it would come up here under setup and go to licensing, product activation, and on this window that pops up, of course on the screen I'm not recording, let me move it over. You will see, come on, be nice. The end user license agreement, they have to accept, they have to put in the new key code and hit OK. This new key code, if valid, we'll have a pop-up message that says, okay, load a new key code, you need to restart. Some of our products restart on their own and others do not. I think the old 2000, you have to come up here and hit system restart. So once they put in the new key code and hit OK, the pop-up messages will happen, and you may find yourself needing to restart if it doesn't restart. The 4000 and this 1800, I believe, do. I know we're not going to talk about 1500 or legacy versions below 8.5. So anyhow, this is that model for the CFS, the hardware piece. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Now, for RPCS, the virtual edition software, I've deployed a new RPCS here, and this is just the VM that I've got deployed, and I have it IP addressed at, let's see here, 36.168. So, well, let me see, bringing back our RMX manager here. Let's go ahead and add ourselves to this box. 168. I think we're using 443. We're secure now. I use the support log on. That's capital support. Gives you a little extra logging levels. Okay. Connect to it. So we get another pop-up window since it's new to manager, and we have to enter the same credentials so it can save the file to the host folder. And that was just warning me that, I'm sorry I closed it real quick, but that's warning me that I've got a different version RMX manager than the paired version to go with this. So this is the state. This is a brand new deployed VM. This is the state that it will come up in when you're ready to connect to it. It'll have no media, the valid license not found, and it'll stay in this state all because of the valid license not found. The best way to license it, I know folks can do this, but I'm not going to do this. You can come to setup and licensing and do license information to review this. Let's see here, not that one, sorry. Let's see here, license, product activation. Okay, so in the past, folks would come here and they would just point it to their license server and use 3333. Okay, so physically you can log in to the web UI in RMX Manager and point it to a license server. It's not the best way to do it because, and I'll explain. So, okay, so we will not license this right now. Let me hit cancel. Um, what we're going to do, so we're going to go look at my licensing server. So um, in a licensing server, that's our resource manager at this point. I am running 10.4, which is beta right this second. Admin and Polycom. Okay, log in. So this is the resource manager. This is also from 10.0 and up. It's the license server that took over for Platform Director, which licenses everything. So the key things, just to give you a high level, the key thing here is from the license area, the setup, this information needs to be created within the Polycom licensing center, and I'll point that out to you here, and customers map license to the product. Okay, let's take a look at what I just said there. So here, let's say search devices, log in. That was it already displayed, but I'm going to show you the process. So we log in. Let's go to my account. Here we go. So we're going to search for our server. Oops, that's not it. And that would be this number. Filter. Okay, so this would be the license server where we have currently items mapped to it. In this case, I have audio point-to-point type licenses, user licenses. We've of course got our single encryption license and our enable license that are required. For them to make this license or this server, if it's a brand new RPRM, let's say it's a brand new customer, they would come to their account, which is what you're looking at here. They're going to hit create server. They're going to enter said number here, and in this case I'll just put a little X to remind me to delete it. They need to select publisher defined. These are optional. You can see I created one for Amphi here recently in DevOps. So this helps me organize. So the last one I created for Amphi, and that was their department. And then we just simply hit create. Okay, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to go back to the server so you can see the second window. When you hit create, you will look at this window minus this data down below, minus the add-ons. So that's where you physically have to click on map add-ons. You can search for any kind of sales order number to be specific. Here we've got a whole bunch, so that's why I'll give you an example. Searching, you see it working up here. So all of our orders have BP-101 something on it, so this will pull up everything pretty much. So here we have a whole ton of licenses. So once they add it in, they do the map add-ons, we can come on over here and type in, what we want to apply to said server. Not to go off on a tangent, but not all these licenses will work directly on the license server. There's specific ones such as PCC or the old CSS licenses. The team has not figured out how to make that product play like all the other products. So that needs to be registered as a device. Okay, going back to our thing here. So customer puts the number in, goes down to the bottom, clicks the map add-on buttons, and lo and behold, they'll have licenses mapped to their said license server. So here it is. We're online and licenses are activated. That's the green check mark. Everything is good here. The next step for our RPCS, our bridge here that we need to get licensed, is to come into the network device area and go to instances. So I do a lot of testing with our RMX or RPCS, and here we go. What we want to do is we want to add in another instance of collaboration server, and we're going to say this is 168 RPCS version 8.7. I just loaded. I needed to test GA 8.7, so I'm doing it now. So is it 168 or 186? Yeah, it's 168. And HTTPS support. Now for your docs, of course, you're using Polycom. I totally understand that. So they'll add this information here. Before they click OK, we have to go to license configuration. Here's the important part for using the Flexera license. Enable licensing with Polycom license server. So you're in behind RPRM here. This is like a Clarity or an a la carte type licensing. You're using the virtual licensing period. You need to check that box. We'll just hit OK. You'll see that this status will show that it's basically installing. We have the other items here that are all showing or reporting that they're good. Right when this happens, I like to drop down and see now it's cleared. So I like to go back to the allocation area and actually see if I can find the device in here. And here we go. There we see 168 RPCS. Clicking on it, here you see, details that we've programmed on in, as well as all the capabilities it's currently licensed for. Now to toggle back to this box, you could see, and let me get rid of this here. That error is probably okay. Now this is non-related to licensing, and I might need to look at this because I need to test this GA build, but it looks like it's complaining about an IP version 6 license, so we probably need to turn off IP version 6 in there. Again, not related to the licensing piece, so it should show up as normal. So go to licensing and look at licensing information. We will now actually see that our license server has activated at such time, the licensing status is valid, and we have the last successful connection, because it'll check regularly, and these are the options that they're entitled to, similar to what we saw basically here under other capabilities, right? So just clicking OK. The other note that I like to point out to folks is down here on the bottom right hand corner, the port usage. In the beginning it was said 0 of 0. So now, based off the VM that we deployed, which is just the regular OVA, it is recording 11 HD ports. So 11 HD ports are important to note that you're not allocating 100 license to this. It's based off of what you can do with the said VM. In this case, 11 HD. This is an 8.7 build or 8.7.5 build that's not released yet up on my other boxes, and you can see that they're all porting in at 11 ports down below. Okay, I do have the soft blade flag flipped on a couple of those, so that's why you see soft blades in there, even though they're not configured. So um, anyhow, so that is the important parts. This adding the licenses from RPRM is the best way of doing it, because you need the license server to reflect that you have your devices in here. So to tell them to go and just log into the RMX manager here and do, product activation or here and enter these details manually and clicking OK, you're going to miss this building of information here, and this is important to have this configured when you also integrate with DMA, because it's going to use same said information when you integrate Resource Manager into DMA. So one more thing about this licensing server, even though it's not the subject piece, I wanted to point out that in the allocation area, when you add DMAs, okay, um, notice the way this page looks for all my virtual RMXs here. They all just look like that. Once you get into DMA and RPAD, you're going to get the page to change a little bit, because this is where you allocate licenses to the product that you actually have in there. So if I had, well, in fact, I do. I have a whole bunch of licenses, and right now, out of all of my licenses, I've basically got 1,500 associated with my DMA here. So this means I can stand up yet another DMA and allocate the other 1,500 to, and therefore even super cluster them. And we'll talk about that later, and then have 3,000 on each DMA type thing. So it's possible to license the items here, and just noting that you have to allocate licenses for the DMA, and we'll touch on that when we go through and run through the DMA piece. So anyhow, this is it for RMX that I wanted to cover, and now let's just turn to DMA. I have, let's see here, this is the default logon. I've deployed DMA in the virtual world here, and as we see, I've got 174, 175, 171, and 173. I need to relabel. These are the ones I've got deployed that I'll be running some tests through with the newer builds. For this benefit of this conversation, I'm only going to talk to you about core, because I haven't messed with the edge server for DMA 10 thus far. But for licensing, to cover that, we have a couple different ways of activations here. So you can, again, back on this site, this is where you would activate the legacy model licenses and the earlier VMs, the VMware licenses, such as we see on my DMA here. Same process. Customer will put in said serial number, and I don't have an, well, actually, look at my DMA. I have a DMA serial number. This is there we go. This is the one I really use as a hardware platform. And I hope you guys aren't falling asleep. Okay, so server licenses. Okay, great. We got a hardware serial number here. So copy. Let's see if it exists. so it's not going to come up. So it's off the books. That's an off the books serial number where there need to be some sort of background intervention. But imagine this, okay? You're going to put in the serial number again one more time. If there's nothing here, customers would be looking for their license information that they got off of some order. I know folks are still talking and moving to even with the hardware platforms, because of the common server and so forth, it can be licensed with the newer licenses, but some still are legacy. So they would put in their CFS serial number, activate, and then they'll have activation history, just like we have here with my RMX 1800. So same story with the upgrades. They have to come here to get the upgrade version for every version, right? The As we talked earlier, available but not entitled. That means that they need that service contract in place to allow them to get that latest key code. That's why when someone does have their product in there, that's probably good to go ahead and click all the get buttons just to make sure they always are displayed there. So even if they're not using it or downloading or upgrading their bridge or DMA or any product, they can still activate it because it's theirs, right? However, if they don't have a service agreement when we release version, like in this case 8.8 or let's say DMA 11, they will not they will not see or be able to get access to that key code at all until they have their service agreement in place. Now, that same checksum also occurs in Flexera, and that's what we talk about on an expiration date. So back here to DMA, we would get our set key code to input, and here I was testing with the CFS activations with DMA 10, and it looks like we're fully activated here. So both a CFS model, which we're looking at here, we would on a hardware, we'd see some sort of Dell service tag number here versus a big long VM serial number, but it's the same scenario. We would grab our key code from this site, whatever the latest one is, come to our DMA, input it, hit update down below, and if it's valid, it will look like this. If it's invalid, we'll get a pop-up message that says it's not a good key code. And I had a few of those while trying to activate this. The licensing server, once again, we could enable this here and type in the information, but what I mentioned earlier is we're going to be missing out on having the instance programmed in here. So it's key that we want most cases there, we want them to, well, all cases, I'd say, we want them to go to RPRM, add the data, so that way it exists here, and let the APIs go out to the product and activate. So we're going to do that here with, not this one, I'm going to leave it. In fact, we'll just close it. And we'll log into 173 here and add it to my, let's see, Polycom 1.2, shift 3, shift 4. Okay, so that's the logon to get into the box. Those by default, admin and Polycom with a capital P, 1.2, shift 3, shift 4. We're going to go ahead and add the DMA instance. And admin, if I can spell. Okay, now this is part of the configuration I think only one of the DMAs can actually be configured to have and manage. So I'm going to leave that off for right now. We're not going to do anything here in reference to my existing 189 DMA, but for benefits of what we're doing, we're going to license this, right? So I'm going to add the information in. I'm going to put that little checkbox to let us know we're going to license it from my licensing server here. And I go down to allocation and see if I can find the 173 DMA. So here's the DMA. We have 0 licenses activated here. Number of point-to points available, I have 0, but I do have 1,500 in this pool, so let's give it, 100 and hit save. Now sometimes I get an error message here in regards to can't allocate or something, but this looks like it'll be pretty good. Yep. License allocation have been updated successfully. As we see, we've got 100, so that's, of our sliver of 1,500, that gave us 3%. So we're rocking now with this DMA. Now, more importantly, the APIs would have came on over and we would have ended up licensing this box. Let's find the information here. So under admin and licenses, we could see that here's the licensing server, and we would have, I've associated 100, and this is the data that it had created. Now for number 174 here, let's try it the other way and validate that. Let's go ahead and put in, see what happens when we add it the other way, just because I have it set up. So we're gonna 160 is my license server and the default port 3333, and we're gonna hit update. So we've added the details in. Let's go see if it exists in my resource manager. Just gonna refresh it. And I won't waste too much time on this, just because I've done it in the past. But as you see, it doesn't exist here. Let's check out allocation, because as you know, when we add the license to the product, we have to allocate it, and we would do that here. And if it doesn't exist, well, we have a problem. We can't give it licenses. So this is why I said, do it from the resource manager side, and we won't have any sort of issues. So let's go ahead and add it in. And license configuration. Okay, and let's see, allocation now. We'll give it 100. See if it showed up yet. Nope. Let's turn it off. See, now there's a failed message. Now what's it off? Let's see here. See, yeah, now that this would create a call to the service desk. I can't assign my licenses, so why? There you go. So even locking it up the other way, here let's let's click off and click back on. Poof, there we go. See, that just looks so much better. So now adding it in again through the instance page here and clicking the box to allow allocation is kind of what we do across all of our products. So even with the back in even with RPAD, which is now going to be DMA 10, there's still the fundamentals of adding it in through this screen. So I'm on a side note, I'm pushing to try and have the Content Connect added in here because that's one of the biggest licensing hurdle that all my FEs and people get wrong. They add licenses for Content Connect to the license server and it becomes a problem. So I'm really trying to fight that, and I've got um, a couple JIRA cases that I've got SLM and the UX team looking at, as well as, I'm doing everything I can to let them know they need to add it in and make it act like all of our other products. So anyhow, these are the ones that are in here. MGC we've never licensed, but what they do is you can have it in here for monitoring. VBP, same story. They're Acme, third party, Cisco. I don't even know why we have Cisco in there. Um, but yeah, this is part of RPRM, and I know it's not our subject matter, but I figured I'd let you know. Anyhow, so we've got the DMAs and RPCS licensed at a high level, just basic implementation. Um, Part of DMA now, and I don't know if we'll go through it on this video, but let's talk about it briefly. I don't know if I'll demonstrate it because I'd probably have to double check my notes, but version 9 came out, and the piece with the licensing that had changed with the 901 build is where I've got 100 on this DMA and I have 100 on this DMA. I join them in a supercluster and now I have 200 on both. So I'm going to leave these up and running. I'm going to go ahead and close out on this video for your homework assignment per se before our meeting on Monday, and we can talk about that piece, and I can work with Carrie or someone, and we can go through if we want to create a little video on doing that. I think I already have that done, but I figured I'd just redo this just for our meeting. So anyways, write down all your questions. Let's talk about it on Monday, and let's go from there. Hope you guys had a great weekend.